Start trading today at pucatrade.com.
Guys, welcome back to Vintage Super League. We've got our last match of the night. I'm Eric Fullick, and I'm joined by Hall of Famer, Dark Confidant, the Great One. Probably has other names. I guess we can call him Bob, but a nice win for you, sir.
Yeah, the probe worked out well in game one. Typically for me, I'm usually Force of Willing threats instead of mana against that deck, and actually, as his turn just started to completely go off in game one, I thought I completely made a mistake. I was lucky he didn't have one more mana.
Yeah, the commentator was talking about how you must have known the deck, and you went after the Soul Ring, and no one really saw it coming. In the chat, just like he cast 2 probes. This was a great play. He definitely needs to do that.
It was 2, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
2. It's something that I miss commonly, I feel like, when I'm doing commentary, because it's like I can already see the hands, and so I kind of just assume that no one else can.
Yeah.
Or that, that they're not working with perfect information, because it's rare that they are, but probe is played so often. And I feel like commonly I can't remember when someone cast probe, which player cast probe, because there's so many decks that have probe, and et cetera, back and forth. And it is a common thing in chat to just feel like, yeah, he's working with a bit more information than you might think when he's going with Force of Will on Soul Ring. So worked out pretty nicely. Of course, Stony Silence is a pretty nice one against the Belcher deck. It does make it a bit more challenging to win.
Yeah, it's there's like 2 ofs here and there for a bunch of silver bullets in my sideboard, but I mean, 2 ofs here and there without a whole bunch of tutor effects. I mean, you really have to kind of get lucky, which I did there. I was able to Force the Will just something on the first turn and hope the Stony Silence on turn 2 brought it home.
Well, you took a pretty nice gamble there by playing the Mentor and trying to end the game quickly versus playing another Stony Silence. If he just plays like Nature's Claim, you just die and probably not feeling too hot about that. But I can respect wanting to sweep the leg.
Well, it wasn't even so much that. I mean, if he's going to run his solutions off of blue mana, I mean, because he doesn't always necessarily get the tropical into play, so I thought it was a lot more likely that he could be running Echoing Truth, so it wouldn't matter. I mean, in all honesty, it's probably Chain of Vapor, but I had thought about it a little bit. I'm running Echoing Truth just because I have Therapy, so I can just solve the problem all at once. But
yeah, I think the deck's only running 1 land, so I mean, I think that's probably more likely to see Nature's Claims and Chain of Vapors, because the deck legitimately folds to No Rod and Stony Silence, but
fair.
It's off the table.
Yeah, I just figured he only had a few answers. I was thinking that chains, but I mean, it's still a good idea to put the second Stony Silence down.
So, match we have coming up, we have David Ochoa leading the way, 3-0, hasn't lost his last 9 matches. He showed up with workshops twice, and he's playing against Tom Martell. Tom is currently at 1-2. Played a Mentor deck in the last stage. Any inklings to what you might expect from these two?
I think Martell might go back to Dredge. I mean,
yeah,
as crazy as it sounds, I think he's pretty good with the deck. Although he hasn't had a ton of success, but I think it's a vintage staple for him. Did he 3? Okay, I guess he's far more successful with it than I realized. On top of it,
yeah, the very first season, he started 0-3, and he was not too happy about it, was doing commentary right afterwards, and Randy's like, so what do you... I assume you're not going to play the same deck. He's just like, no, of course not. He's like, so any idea what you're going to play? He's like, I'm playing Dredge. I'm just doing it. So like, Randy's like, I don't believe you. You know, you said that deck is the fun police, and it's horrible, it's not magic, and no one wants to watch. He goes like, I don't care, I'm 0-3, I'm playing Dredge. And then he Dredge and went 3-0.
So, I just think he's good with the deck. I think he enjoys it. Anytime Martell is in my range of opponents, I always make sure I have a few sideboard cards for Dredge.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. Of course, Randy surprised quite a few people. Ended up going 2-1, although his loss to Luis involved multiple mulligans to very few cards, so not the best. All right, so it sounds like David Ochoa and Tom Martell are ready to go, so let's take you down for the final match of the night. Guys, welcome back to Vintage Super League. We are on our 5th of 5 matches tonight, week 4 of season 4. On the top, Tom Martell, It looks like Tom is on Mentor Control, running back the Mentor strategy. And David Ochoa running a deck that we've seen a number of people play. I played Storm in the first few weeks. I think it's the best deck in the format by a lot. It's certainly the most fun, but looks like that is the deck that Webb has chosen to virtually sleeve up this week.
Yeah, I agree with you that Storm right now is the best deck by a lot. It's incredibly resilient. We saw the things Kai did. I mean, turn after turn, just throwing threats out there until one finally got through. And it's not even an incremental advantage when one finally gets through. The game's just over.
So Webb's opening hand is pretty strong. He's got Library on the draw. He's got some fast mana and some way to draw cards. Martell has main deck Wasteland though, and so that's a pretty good answer to Library.
Yeah, it's pretty nice to be able to hit the Library there, but it's not like Webb is missing much in the rest of his hand.
No, I mean Demonic Tutor's always a good one to see.
Boy, I don't even know where he goes from here.
Well, I guess he gets the lead on Probe. Let's see, he's got 3, 4, 6, 4, 1, 4, 2. No, he needs one other like real mana source, and he has a turn 1 kill. If he finds like a ritual off this Probe, or Black Lotus, or Lion's Eye Diamond, all those will actually just win the game on turn 1.
I mean, just half his deck.
It's not that many cards, but
No, it's not.
It is kind of ridiculous that this hand that kind of had no action is a potential turn 1 kill.
Yeah, just drew a tutor, opens up so many possibilities. All needs a little more mana.
He could just draw the Yawgmoth's Will, he doesn't have to tutor for it.
Even if he just draws a bargain here, he can put it into play.
Yeah, that would also effectively end the game. The fact that he just gets to play Library and draw an extra card and force Martell to deal with that. I mean, Martell might find some action off this Preordain. He's looking for, a mental misstep, preferably Force of Will. But not a lot going on in Tom's hand, and Webb knows about it.
Yeah, so, I mean, I would guess it's just Library, which would lead Tom to play his land, walk, or... Well, I don't know whether it be land or Wasteland, but walk and then get another land into play in Wasteland.
Yeah. Trying to think if
I mean, walk's pretty powerful in the Mentor decks as it pulled it out for me against Randy, but you certainly, and I suppose he hasn't done anything to know what Webb is playing yet. But by the end of the turn, he should have a reasonable idea.
Well, Cataxian Probe into Library can definitely be a number of things.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Webb contemplating whether it's worth doing anything. There's not really too much he can do. Go all in, and that leaves him. He could still cast Probe. That doesn't do much.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of what he can come up with, unless it's... Yeah, I'm at a loss. Never mind.
Yeah, I can't come up with anything that does much here. If he had a different color Mox, maybe a Mox Jet, it'd be a little bit more interesting because you could use the Academy, but I still think he'd be short of doing anything you'd want to do.
Yeah, because you're looking at it, even after he lays the land, he can have 6 mana tutor for... I mean, even if he will, and then wills back, tutor probes again.
Even if he had, I guess with Mox Jet, he could end up just tutoring for Necro and casting that on turn 1. I don't really know what he's thinking about, though.
No.
I'm sure he'll just end up winning the game, but...
Yeah. Shows the error of our ways. I mean, he would have spell mastery if, for some odd reason, there was a tutor for Dark Petition and for Will, but I really Oh, no, he doesn't even end up with 5 after the tutor. It's still just 4. That's the whole problem here. Or is it 5? It's black, colorless, green? Yeah.
The chat will tell us all the different ways that he can get turn 1 Necro, but I'm going to have to see it to believe it.
Fair.
There may be a convoluted way I haven't thought of, but it's not some simple thing.
It certainly is not.
He could go for 10 joules for 10, or 12 even. Don't really like that play, so I'm going to go library go here and give him a slow play warning.
Well, sorry, sir, you need to make a play.
Can someone make sure that he is okay? He could just play Demonic Tutor Go. That's
Yeah,
not
we have
unreasonable.
action. Definitely have action. I mean, he knows it's resolving, and he knows his opponent's hand is going to change considerably after he says go. Like, his land's getting wasted, his opponent's going to preordain.
It's not the choice I would make. I'd like the extra card off library the most, I think.
I think you and I both would have played library and said go a few minutes ago, but he's just going to teach me something here, because although I completely agree this is the best deck in Vintage, I've also spent next to no time playing it.
Well, at least he played the Underground Sea, so he's not going to time out for another 9 minutes.
I feel like once the Underground came into play, you've committed to a line that you have to follow up on.
You don't have to. I mean, if you assume you're getting wasted, this could just be still go.
But why not the Delta, then, if you just don't want your library getting wasted?
Maybe you wanted to get wasted. I don't have an answer for you. All right. So what are you getting here? Ancestral Recall? Mind's Desire? Maybe Mind's Desire.
Mind's Desire is still not
huge.
for a ton. It's going to be 3 or 4, depending on what you draw.
4 with 3 spells is pretty good, though.
But with it, I guess it's not hard to get the double blue and Ritual, because he's got Academy.
I guess he could have a different list than what I played previously and have some card that I haven't thought of playing that he's now getting. There aren't any particular cards you can get right now. They're just like, that's really exciting, though. I mean, Young Muscle is still really good if it resolved.
Yeah, I'm sitting here racking my brain what could really impact this game right now, and I'm not coming up with much.
Fail to find. All right.
That's what I was just going to ask. Was that?
I assume the hand cam is lagged, and he got something. Okay, it's a Necro. Necro is really not the most exciting. It's also just not going to work out well in the face of Time Walk, Untap, Preordain, Wasteland, Mental Misstep, etc.
Yeah, this isn't going to work well at all.
That being said, Martell's clock is nothing. So, as we saw from Kai, just having time, there's a lot of good cards.
I mean, I guess I don't even see the appeal there for Necro versus Bargain.
Yeah, I agree with you. Right, those are 2 solid draw steps.
Yeah, those help a lot.
He can preordain and still leave up Spell Pierce and Mental Misstep and use Wasteland if he wants to. Tom has not seen Webb's hand. So you imagine he's going to waste.
Balance, wow. Blast from the past.
Shout out to the Rug Doctor. Dig's a great card. You already have Treasure Cruise. Yeah, it's going to get bottomed. I think Wasteland's going to get used here. He's going to get to Treasure Cruise next turn, likely for 1 mana. And be pretty well set up to have a big advantage going forward. That being said, he doesn't have a clock. Webb's got time. There's a lot of big draws in this type of deck. That's a good one in general. Not the best against Tom's hand. So Webb's play is Library Go after getting a Necro into his hand. It's interesting. Get to use it next turn, potentially. So it looks like Webb's plan was just play around this Wasteland. If Tom wants to use Treasure Cruise now, it's going to cost him 2 mana. Of course, he still has both 1 mana counters up, so not really a dangerous spot to be in.
Yeah. It's really interesting to see how this goes. I thought it was kind of great to get an extra card out of the library and then make your opponent trade a land drop for it.
Yeah, I think there's a reasonable chance this is going to work out better for Webb, just because of how good the library is going to be if this game continues to extend. If Martell doesn't find, and he didn't find a Monastery Mentor, he does have some kind of clock in Snapcaster Mage if he wants it, although I don't think you pass Snapcaster Mage for no value in this matchup. I think Webb's play is probably just cast Soul Ring, let it get countered, and pass the turn. He may not even do that. Yeah, not even doing that. If Webb is able to find a card like Mind's Desire, he may be able to get it off. It's still going to be tough to get to the mana he needs to, but Mana Crypt should resolve, and the Academy should be able to add a few mana. I'm not sure exactly what Tom's going to use his missteps on, but the fact that he has multiples of them and a Snapcaster Mage now means he can be like really liberal with them and kind of counter anything. Wow,
he should. Yeah, he should be trying to make. Wow. Yeah, any impact off of the spells in his hand are really important right now.
Finding Ancestral with the Snapcaster Mage still in hand with multiple mental missteps, this game's going to be tough now. It was already not going to be easy, but that was a really good ponder.
Yeah, he has a knack finding a way to Ancestral and run it back again right away. Earlier against me, just ripped the Ancestral off the top with Jace, able to flash it back.
Well, that last card in hand, I believe, Mana Drain. We saw off the ponder, so a lot of counters available. Probably just going to pass the turn here and discard a Sword Splash here.
Yeah, very much just holding out, waiting for a clock.
That being said, Library is doing work. Cabal Therapy is good. All you can do at this point is kind of chip away.
Yeah, it's a lot to chip away at right now, though.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Snapcaster Ancestral, I feel like Webb's chances were okay.
Yeah.
But that's a tough one.
Yeah, Ancestral and the Snapcaster Ancestral is really hard to come back from.
That being said, if Tom finds a bunch of bricks, Webb doesn't have that many bricks. The deck's playing, about 13 lands. He's already gone through 5 of them. Just getting the time to be able to set up a card like Mind's Desire that can't easily be countered is definitely a very real threat.
Well, that's where he's at right now. If he gets enough of these small spells in his hands, Mana Crypts and Lion's Eye Diamonds and Soul Rings, anything can happen with a Storm spell.
Yeah, I guess it's just going to come down to, if another Ancestral Recall ends up just bricking. They're still a preordained too. Tom has multiple counters still in hand. He actually had a choice there of he could have spell pierced if he wanted to, but you're leaving yourself a bit vulnerable. I mean, Webb didn't have any mana to pay for it, but you then only have your misstep up, and I guess there's definitely a string of things that could cost you quite a bit.
I think, yeah, and he really wants to end of turn Snapcast the Ancestral and cast it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this would be a great time for Webb. What? See, Webb could have potentially played the Academy there. It would have taken him down to only 6 cards in hand, but he'd still have a draw step. It is risky to run out your Ancestral in response to their Ancestral. But that being said, 2 missteps did just get cast. It would have resolved. And might have put Webb in a good position. So that was exactly what I was talking about. That Ancestral.
Yeah, that's a lot of bricks.
He drew 4 bad ones. Now he still has Preordained that can see up to 3 more cards. But that was a really bad Ancestral. There's the balance again. Can't get enough of that. Is he going to keep the misstep? Nope.
Didn't. Finally found a real clock.
Yeah. Mentor definitely threatens to end the game quickly. Being said, Webb's going to have a lot of mana next turn. Potentially. Tom can't cast multiple counterspells. So he's got Mana Drain. But Webb can play out a lot of things here. He gets to lead on Probe. So he knows exactly who he's up against. I think Webb's going to have a reasonable chance to win this game right now.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance he'll win the game this turn.
Well, the problem is if your Ancestral gets Mana Drain, your Brainstorm has to find you action. So if you just brick on the 3 cards, it's over. I think that Tom is very likely to win on his turn. Although I guess that's not even true. You can only cast Swords to Plowshare for a spell. Yeah. That's in a pretty good spot. Well, that's a bad draw.
Most of the land of his deck at this point. He still has the library, should he choose to.
Yeah, I imagine he's going to play a mana artifact, then use library, and then evaluate where he's at. This Academy is likely to produce 3 mana, which is very good. If he's able to find something like Mind's Desire, should do it. If he's not... See, the Necro's just not going to do enough. He can't draw enough cards for it to be relevant and not die to Monastery Mentor.
Yeah, he doesn't know that Martell can't actually do much in the way of activating the Mentor.
He does. He just cast Probe.
Oh, fair. Yeah, sorry.
He knows exactly what he's up against, and Dark Petition, it's a good draw. See, now he gets...
I feel like that should be plenty.
What's that?
I feel like that should be plenty.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you get your artifacts out, you... Go ahead.
Martell has the option to not counter both Brainstorm and Ancestral, which seems absurd.
Yeah, you have to be clairvoyant.
He does that, and Webb bricks on both of them. Then Tom can counter Dark Petition and win the game, potentially. That being said, it does look like Webb's going to win this game. In fact, he has to mess up really badly to not win this game. So this
maybe when you're...
Yawgmoth's Will, and it's just over right there.
Maybe when your opponent has that many cards in play, you only mana drain the one that's going to kill you? I don't know.
So was Webb's turn 1 play brilliant? This library was insane.
It was really good. I mean, it'd been interesting to see how it went.
This is an honest question.
Yeah, I understand. Maybe he just understands better than we do that you can't get it wastelanded.
The funny thing is, we were talking about that Demonic Tutor turn 1. The Necro's still sitting in his hand. He hasn't even tried to cast it.
Yeah, never.
It's just, yeah, I've got it. So the Ancestral ends up just resolving.
And if I'm Martell, I'm assuming that's what he tutored for forever ago.
Yeah, it's reasonable. I mean, if I'm Martell, I probably forgot that he cast Tutor, to be honest, but... It's been a while. How much mana does he have? Just so much.
Yeah, just all of it. The storm is already 6. We really just All he has to do is just get this petition countered and then tap that jet and tendrils him. He really just doesn't have to cast any more spells. He can certainly run the wheel and showboat for a while, but...
All right, polling the chat. Type 1 in the chat if you think Webb's play of not playing library was insanely awesome and great. Type 0 if you're like, no, that was ridiculous. I'm honestly curious. I don't know myself, but I really want to get some data.
This should be interesting. I have to go open up Twitch now.
What I should have done was say, type Paul in the chat if it was brilliant. Type LSV in the chat if it was awful. Still got a good mixed bag. More ones than zeros, I think, but I think that we're all in agreement that tutoring for Necro didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Even just getting the tutor out of your hand, because your library wasn't even on, like, you made it harder to actually use your library a little bit. I guess it didn't really matter.
I mean, maybe he just figured the Necro meant he had it either way. If Martell taps a bunch of mana on his own turn to get some sort of...
But it didn't, because like Martell's deck is so likely to be misstep flooded, and you had to cast Dark Ritual to cast Necro, which if you're going to do that, at that point Bargain's just better. So it kind of just doesn't make sense in any real capacity I can think of.
Yeah, he put so much work in getting that library out. He just wanted to have a game plan if something went wrong there.
Has Sadistic Sarcoments in his sideboard. I think that card is like black, exile 5 cards from your opponent's deck. Something like that.
Huh. All right, then.
Oh, exile 3 cards from their deck. So I guess turn 1 in the mirror, you just block them out, take all their win conditions.
Just land ritual get you?
That's gas. I mean,
that's high tech. Well, when you're just convinced it's the best deck, I mean,
yeah,
why not?
I think that a lot of people probably put me on running back Storm, and I certainly considered it. And I play Web in this set, so interesting. I'm glad I'm on 12 null rod shops instead.
I mean, you have a lot of experience with the Storm deck. How bad is a null rod?
It's tough. I mean, the thing is, to win against the shops deck, you have to cast Urkel's Recall. You basically can't win unless you win turn 1. You know, you basically are going to cast Urkel's Recall at some part to win the game. You're slowing your deck down a little bit. You're not taking out necessarily your turn 1 cards, but I take out some of my like draw 7s and things that are a little bit slower because I'm boarding in a bunch of lands and I'm okay with going to turn 4 or 5. If I resolve Urkel's Recall, I get to untap and win 100% of the time. That being said, you know, No Rod makes it really tough to just cast Urkel's Recall. Like, they're attacking your mana. I board in 5 lands, but that being said, if you have to get to like 4 or 5 mana with a No Rod in play, it's just tough to do. And it's already an interesting matchup because you have to play out your artifacts because they have spheres and similar cards, and you know, No Rod just really shuts down a lot of what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So it's not game winning intrinsically, but it is really good, and they do generally have to deal with it before winning. If they draw a bunch of rituals, though, they just kill you anyway. But it does have to generally be the card Dark Ritual, which is already just so good. Alright, players are ready. Game 2, Martell will be on the play.
Yeah, I mean, Cabal Rituals offer no slouch. One more time. One of these hands is much better than the other.
Yeah. Martell's hand is close to perfect. Away to his deck is great. Destroying the lands is great. Misstep is great. Force of Will is perfect. He has no threat. He has, if Ponder misses, he may be doing nothing for a while. That being said, Webb's hand is awful. He's got a bunch of cards he's not close to being able to cast. No black mana. Academy doesn't tap for mana.
I mean, is this a keeper for Webb?
No, it's
Yeah.
It's in your bottom like few percent of hands I think you can get.
Okay. We had been looking at it long enough. I thought maybe
I'm not
out
sure
of
if
somewhere
we
he
have
kept
paused
it.
the players because of the technical difficulty or if they're still thinking. I'm not sure. Yeah, even if there was no Scry Mulligan, I wouldn't even consider keeping this hand from Webb.
Yeah.
If it had a basic swamp,
I still don't. I mean, 2 Dark Petitions in the Necro.
I mean,
you
you
get
have
to dress
Probe
and
with
follow it up with
Dress, which
Therapy.
is
Yeah.
pretty nice, but I mean, I wouldn't keep it, but you know, Sand is kind of the epitome of fine.
I think on 6 you keep it.
Yeah, I mean,
Does
Defense Grid is
nothing.
one of your best cards. Time Walk might be your worst card in the deck. Period. It's usually like none of the versions really play Time Walk, and then I played Time Walk in the Magic Online tournament I won. I think I cut it for Vintage Super League. It was fine. It was the first card I boarded out in a lot of matches, just because it's generally just an Explorer, which is good, but wasn't necessarily what the deck needed. Oh. I assume. Well, I'm just going to lead on Time Walk here? I think so. There's a lot of good draws potentially here. Doesn't want land. It's pretty far from that one. So Mind's Desire is going to get misstepped. Defense Grid is going to get Force of Willed. But then Tom's not going to have much of a hand.
Yeah, and without a clock. I mean, we're just going to sit here not doing much for a while, but from what we've seen in earlier matches, that typically favors the Storm deck.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with the Ponder. I mean, he drew Misstep, which is a good card, and one that he'd be likely to keep on top. I don't know if he shuffled, and I don't know if there are good cards waiting for him on top. It's every possibility that if he hit like Misstep Ancestral off, he's going to put Misstep on top and draw Ancestral on turn 1 or turn 2. I mean, and
Certainly.
at that point, he's just going to be crushing. Tom deciding what to discard to his Force of Will. He's got more information than us if he knows the top cards of his library. Again, I assume he didn't shuffle, but that might not even be true.
I don't know, it seems really hard to remove the other Force of Will, but...
Yeah, I mean, if you have bad blue card coming and then some... I don't know. Well, Flusterstorm's a good blue card.
Yeah.
I mean, also Webb Mulligan, he's down to 2 cards already, so... A good spot to be in if you're Tom Martell. Being said, if he uses Strip Mine, he's pretty far away from casting something like Monastery Mentor.
I think you still keep it up.
Yeah, I mean, drawing a land is definitely helps there. I mean, this Mind's Desire not working because of Flusterstorm is pretty insane, too.
Yeah.
I think Webb's going to hold off on the Probe. He's not under any clock and wants to potentially build Storm for his Mind's Desire.
Right, because he's sitting at a point right now, if he draws Academy, he can Mind's Desire for 3, which sounds great when you're just sitting here doing nothing.
At the very least, his Probe could also hit. Alright, that's a really good one. That can't be Flusterstorm, so that means that if Martell doesn't want this Defense Grid to resolve, which I imagine he doesn't, he's going to have to use Force of Will and Flusterstorm here. Flusterstorm not being able to get Defense Grid is just really good.
Yeah. Defense Grid is incredible in the deck. I mean, we heard Rich Shea talk about it quite a bit earlier. Where do you...
Well, Tom's
When you
down to
are,
nothing in hand, which makes Time Twister an interesting card.
yeah, when you already have 3 mana, do you ever consider just leaving the Flusterstorm in hand and planning on using it for 4 mana?
Yeah, you consider it. I don't think it's necessarily the best thing to be going for. If you're going to draw Dig through Time, though, just do what you got to do. Dig has to be the best draw in the deck. It's better than Ancestral, I think.
Yeah, I think it's much better than Ancestral. Well, it's better than Ancestral.
I guess it depends what's in your top 7. He does have enough misses in his deck where this Time Twister could resolve. I mean, a single Pyroblast will ensure that Time Twister doesn't happen. But if he did just find things like Mental Missteps,
Yeah,
Preordains,
he's probably looking for a clock, and yeah, so a clock and a counter.
imagine Webb's going to go for Time Twister. He's going to look for running cards that can allow him to cast Mind's Desire. It's an okay start. If he finds Ritual next turn, he's got potential for doing something. He's got an interesting decision here of, is Time Twister going to get countered? Obviously, if it is, you don't want to play Lotus Petal. If it isn't, you really, really do want to play Lotus Petal. I think you have to assume it is, though.
I think you try the. I guess your opponent has like Spell Pierce and things like that also from the last game.
Yeah. I mean, they did just resolve a dig and play a land now with 2 cards in hand, so you have to imagine they're pretty good cards. At least serviceable ones.
Yeah, I would definitely run out the Twister just to see.
And so he's going to play the Petal. This Time Twister's going to get countered. Tom's going to, at the very worst, be able to play a Mentor on his turn. So now even if Webb's able to find something like... Actually, Dark Ritual won't cast Mind's Desire. He doesn't have double blue and
double
black.
blue.
Tom gets to slam Monastery Mentor. He's going to give Webb essentially a turn here to find something, and there isn't much you could possibly find. Mana Drain's going to be up. And this is going to be a tough spot for Martell to lose the game from.
A pretty long clock.
Yeah.
It's not that long. It's okay, not that long.
Preordain speeds things up dramatically. Probably be able to find action, or at least disruption. Look like a misstep is one of the cards. At this point, there's just not even much. Not sure about not fetching. Well, that could have been a decent draw at some point in the game. Not this one.
Yeah, now this game is just wildly out of control at this point.
If Webb finds... No. If he found another Duress, the problem is that the Dark Ritual is not going to resolve, and then he's not going to be able to have double blue. 2 Duresses resolving does take care of the cards in hand. Mind's Desire could get there, but he's just doesn't have the mana.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where it's great if the ritual resolves, but it's not the reality we live in. I mean, he's basically at a point that he's gonna have to try it soon.
Yeah. And he has to go for it now, I imagine.
Yeah.
Web spells. So if he leads on Dark Ritual and gets misstepped, he gets to cast Mind's Desire for 3. Martell could counter 2 of those copies if he wanted, or counter cards off the Mind's Desire, so it doesn't really seem like there's much that can happen that would allow Web
I
to
mean,
get to this game.
Martell might figure he has counters for almost every card in Web's hand. Maybe he lets the ritual go. I just don't. I don't know. I don't picture it hitting after that.
Yeah, I mean, he does still have 3 counters for 3 cards.
I mean, if Webb hasn't laid a land yet this turn, do you ever just lead with Duress? Well, ritual resolved.
Well, now he gets to cast Duress.
Yeah, Duress will get misstepped, and we'll see what happens off 4.
Oh, if Webb finds action and tendrils, he wins. Right? Like, if he finds any spells to cast, especially, like, you know, if Tom has to counter any of them, which he's going to see all the cards coming off it, but it doesn't really matter. If he plays anything he can cast and hits tendrils, he wins this game.
Yeah, he has to hit. I mean, Tom can still counter copies of tendrils, though.
2 of them. That's why I said if he finds things that he can cast.
Well, this is only for 4.
True, but if, let's say, one of the cards is just something that draws a card, you know.
Yeah. Fair.
Like, odds are he'll hit spells, like at least like Moxes or something. There's not a lot of lands in the deck. He's cast a lot of lands. Or he's drawn a lot of lands. Therapy's a spell. Alright. Oh, I mean, he just hit Tendrils.
Place to start, yeah.
I think Tendrils does it. He's got 2 out of 37, I think. Oh, now I see. Martell can counter the last 2 copies of Mind's Desire.
Right. There we go.
That will win the game. Alright. Smart play by Martell.
Yeah.
So he needed Tendrils to be in one of the first couple cards. Yeah, that would have done it. If he continued to hit spells, I guess that is.
Yeah, that's well played by Martell.
Mm-hmm.
All right, get to see a game 3 between.
I think a lot of people would have let the Mind's Desires resolve, and of course, Therapy into Tendrils is just game over.
Yeah, it's just incredible.
All right, so we'll get a game 3. A lot better for Webb on the play, although it's probably pretty good for him on the draw too.
Yeah.
You know, being able to get Defense Grid down on turn 1 though before things like Spell Pierces up is pretty nice. Martell's going to be looking to draw more copies of Forceful Elemental Misstep. Saw a lot of them that game.
Do you see anything in Martell's board that he should be thinking about?
Yeah, he should be.
Like Rest in Peace?
Yeah, I mean, when I played against Rich Shea on the Magic Online Finals, I had turn 1 Necro. I'm just like, okay, this hand's insane. I can never lose. And he drew and played Rest in Peace, and it set me back about 4 turns trying to figure out a way to actually win this game. It was a huge beating. That being said, I didn't, necessarily board much to deal with it. I didn't have Chain of Vapor in my deck, and I also set up a hand that was just going to win through pretty much anything possible, and he had Rest in Peace. So
the Rest in Peace the Rest in Peace does so much work against Yawgmoth's Will. Also, certain hands you just can't wheel then. I mean, if it's going to involve removing all your tendrils from the game, or...
Well, it turns Dark Petition from Demonic Tutor into crap.
Yeah.
And so, that's a very real thing. Turning off Yawgmoth's Will is fine. I don't think Grafdigger's Cage is good in the matchup, but it is a very reasonable thing.
I think it's just more for splash damage. More for a card that I think should probably be coming in, because
also,
it does...
Ball Ritual a lot worse, but that's not one of the bigger cards.
Right. I think it's just marginally better in a bunch of situations than cards that are probably in his deck.
Yeah, it's probably quite a bit worse on the draw, although I'm not sure exactly how many Moxes Tom has in his deck. Turn 1, it can certainly be quite good. On the play, I think that he wants it. Alright, so let's get some graveyards popped out. Looks like
Wow.
Webb's hand is phenomenal. Looks like Martell's hand is quite good, just not necessarily against Storm.
Martell's hand is good, but Webb is just won't even bother with the first turn Necro. It'll just be duress you and put whatever it is, 10, 12, 1/1s into play.
Yeah. What's he taking off the duress? Just the Time Walk? Does he need to? Like, Time Walk or do you just take the Preordain? Maybe just take the Preordain.
Maybe the Preordain? I mean, his hand is also still incredible if he just goes first turn Necro, go.
Yes. That being said, if Tom finds Mentor, he threatens to win the game immediately. I mean, he has Mox, Lotus, Time Walk.
Yeah.
Like, if he preordains and one of the top 4 cards in his deck is Mentor, he just gets to go Lotus, Mentor, Mox, make a guy, Time Walk.
Time Walk. Or if he just rips it and then he gets it off the Preordain also.
And way, way more.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Martell would prefer a hand with Force of Will or Mental Misstep over what is a very, very good opening hand, considering he's on the draw. I mean, on the play, you can't ask for anything better than this. This hand's amazing. But it doesn't actually have any action. It doesn't have any interaction on turn 1, so Webb gets to go nuts.
Yeah, it's still. I don't think it's a hand you can throw back.
So this is definitely a decision. I mean, you could play Necro and you're almost assuredly going to win. You could play Empty the Warrens, you're almost assuredly going to win. But which one's better? I don't have the answer. I lean Warrens, but I can see feeling very silly when that doesn't work out.
The only issue is if the only thing you're worried about with either play is a Mentor off the top, then I think you just go Necro.
Do you? Oh. I don't know. My inclination is to play Empty, but I don't have a lot of strong reasoning behind that. I mean, part of it is that if you draw a black mana source, of which most of the cards in your deck are, you can still play Necro next turn.
I just feel like if the card you're really worried about is Mentor, I feel like this gives an extra turn to hit it.
Alright, so Tom's not going to have a choice here but casting Time Walk, right?
No, I think you just say go.
Wait a turn.
Yeah, I think you almost certainly just say go.
I don't know. I think that I would cast Time Walk and hope to find the Mentor just so I have at least a couple blockers and it's buying me multiple turns that way.
But if the Mentor's on top, I would much rather Time Walk next turn. And if it's not on top, it's a moot point.
Well, it's on top.
Yeah, this is just tough now.
I think that playing the Mox Sapphire over the Mox Pearl was a mistake. He could have left up Spell Pierce by playing the Mox Sapphire right now, which I think certainly puts him in a better position.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like, I mean, of course it certainly depends on what Webb draws, but you'd almost rather take 10, have an extra land drop, get to run out the Time Walk. I don't know.
So now if you're Webb, you don't really want to even play Necro. What does he want? I guess your best draw is just Yawgmoth's and then cast another Empty. Although, I guess you know Martell does have Spell Pierce in hand.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not a good draw. Oh, this game's not over. So Martell, I think he just takes 9 here. Like, this seems really good for him. I don't know about blocking. Oh, not block.
It doesn't change the clock much.
It could certainly change the clock the other way, though.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
I mean, take the fact that you only have to take 9 to begin with versus taking 7. Wow, yeah, having
In case you draw through time and then all your tokens live and the game's over.
well,
Game
the
is
game's
probably
probably
over
over
with the
anyway.
dig anyways.
Seems like Martell's
Yeah.
just going to win this game. He had to draw Monastery
The-
Mentor immediately. He had no way to manipulate his deck to do so, but there was the Monastery Mentor. Just so happens it's
Yeah,
followed
dig's
up
such
with-
such a backbreaker.
So, turn 1 Necro, you're saying, huh? Yeah. Turn 1 Necro was... Everyone knew it.
Kataki's War Wage, that's funny.
Kataki's an interesting one, because you're almost always holding your artifacts as long as you can anyway in this deck when you're not playing against a deck that is going to tax your mana later. So
Right.
Kataki
And
generally doesn't do much. But.
it puts Web down to no mana, but you're also sitting there with 2 Moxes in play. Yeah, he does not choose Kataki.
Well, the 2 cards he happened to have available to him were just about great. The nuts. He gets to even just leave up Ancestral to eat some more goblins if he wants. This game is just over.
Yeah.
What can Web draw? I guess if Tom bricks and never finds something like a misstep, Web could draw Dark Ritual, play Mana Crypt, and resolve Necro against this hand. And if Tom didn't draw Dig Through Time, it's not over. They're outs, although Tom was very far ahead. The mentor had to be exactly where it was.
You're looking at things like drawing your Academy and Mind's Desire and hoping your Mind's Desire for 2 hits or something like that. I mean,
there's the misstep, so that should lock it up. From Tom, I'm definitely attacking here. I guess it doesn't really matter much, but I like taxing the life total of a deck that needs to come back with something like Necro, although there's no way of Necro ever happening at this point with that hand. Turn 1, 10 1/1s on the play after duressing you, making sure you had no action. Not good enough.
after duressing you really is the kicker there.
So Web even gonna attack. Yep.
Can he just plan on taking it and killing him?
Well, he can just cast the Ancestral and eat 2 tokens and let the other ones stick around. And he doesn't have any spells you can get. Like, you get to see what the Ancestral draws you first, I guess. So, I mean, he actually needs 4 spells to be lethal. So, not easy. But, I mean, if he draws something and something else that he can Spell Pierce and misstep a Spell Pierce, that's lethal. So I guess he really only needs 2 more spells.
But yeah, I think you just Ancestral here and see what it looks like.
Actually, losing one of your monks doesn't change your, how many spells you need to cast to win next turn. It may over 2 turns, but it's probably just better to block anyway. And I wonder if he's trying to figure out if there's any way to die to tendrils. Doesn't seem possible. You're just going to leave up Spell Pierce and take it all.
Still has to hit off this brainstorm to get the mana to cast all the spells.
Yeah. Any spell will do it, essentially, or any red mana source. You could just cast the Pyroblast.
Yeah, I think brainstorm into any castable. I guess it would be a blue mana source. Well, a spell and the mana to cast it, or a red mana source. Oh, well, no, he has an extra token in play. So he just needs 3 spells now instead of 4.
Oh. Yep.
Yeah, so this is it. Just
Alright, so David Ochoa going to pick up his first loss, it looks like. Even if Tom doesn't kill him now, it still looks like Webb's going to pick up the loss. So Tom moves up to 2-2, right in the middle of the pack. And Webb's still at the top at 3-1.
Yeah, 10-1-1s after address sometimes just doesn't get it done. Wow. It's not even like he's one attack away.
All these spells will resolve. Tom's team will get +3/+3. He'll come in for his 17 points of damage.
Yep.
I can't believe Webb lost with that great opening hand. It's crazy.
It's wild.
So Echoing Truth into untap, Mox Jet, Tendrils you.
Wow.
Tom Martell is going to win that match.
Impressive. It's very impressive.
That was a pretty sweet one. Definitely thought Tom was going to win game 1 pretty easily. Definitely thought Webb was going to win game 3 pretty easily. In the end, Tom still takes the match 2-1, although we got some pretty exciting games in the meantime. So,
yeah, that was an exciting way to finish the night. That's for sure. It's not very often you get to see turn 1 10-1-1s duress you with just no action, and it doesn't quite get there.
There's this tall tale I've heard about someone who consistently was able to go turn 1, unmask you into Necropotence, and it just was never good enough.
It's just
There's virtually
those
no
are the only
chance
games
the
I
story
won.
is true. What are the odds that turn 1 Necropotence against a deck that can't present any clock is ever not going to be good enough? But I heard it happen like 12 times in a row. So, let's take a quick recap of week 4. Tom Martell advancing to 2-2, defeating Dave Ochoa, drops to 3-1. Kai gets his first win in VSL this season, 1-3. He's joined by Menendian at 1-3. Bob Marr,
on the board,
another win, up to 2-2. Randy joins him at 2-2. Pair of Hall of Famers there. I was able to get by Chris Pakula's Storm deck, go to 3-1. Pakula down to 1-3, and Rich Shea continues his winning ways and his die roll wins to 80% die rolls won over 4 seasons of VSL. Very impressive stat. And Luis dropping to 2-2 after losing the Shops mirror. He's played 2 decks, trying to beat Shops, and yeah, he's 2-0 against not Shops and 0-2 against Shops. Pretty interesting turn of events there. So that is our recap. Week 5, we have 10 really good players playing against each other in some combination of pairings. And in the booth, there's going to be 2 really smart and fantastic individuals commentating 5 rounds in a row. So that's something really exciting to be looking forward to. And yeah, anything else?
Gotta keep it fresh. Yeah. No, I'm beside myself. I'm actually ahead of a few people for once ever in a VSL. So this is an odd feeling for me.
Yeah, this has got to be weird coming from the middle.
Yeah, I mean,
The usual position of, okay, I
50-50.
got a 3-0 the last week and hope for some good breaks.
Yeah, the 3-0 of the last trimester and hope for something good to happen to not be in relegation. Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's still plenty of time for that. I could still finish 2-4 coming out of this, so keep
Yeah,
hope
and anything is
alive.
possible. Although, yeah, you had a pretty sweet match this time, and I think you probably have some decent chances going forward. Should be good. We've had a lot of good vintage. We always have some good vintage matches, so I guess that's why everyone turns into Vintage Super League. Yeah, that's gonna do it for week 4 here of season 4 of Vintage Super League. Tune in Tuesday next week, same VSL time, same VSL channel, right here on Magic.